Hello YouTube fans, here again. And I figure with my other Acidita, why not this one? Classic from 1984, a classic from West Haven. I love this film, I still love it today. One of my favourites when it comes to my favourite type of horror films. This is it, that being A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, the classic, fuck the remake, A Nightmare on Elm Street. So fuck it, let's talk about a background story and the history of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, as you know, at the time, Wes Craven, believe it or not, was going to do a sequel to Last House on the Left. But then he had ideas of another thing that influenced him, and it was to do with a lad. It's a true story, by the way. A young lad who was, I think, was in Vietnam, and he was whinging about having nightmares. He was whinging a lot about having his nightmares, and he couldn't sleep, and his mum and dad got him sleeping tablets without his knowledge. He fell asleep. They put him to bed, and he had another nightmare. Surprise, surprise, he died in his sleep. And it inspired Wes Craven to do A Nightmare on Elm Street. Plus, there was another idea that when he was a kid, there was this cheapy old guy, very similar to how Freddy looks, the dirty brown hat, the sweater and everything, the jean type red sweater, and it freaks him out that much. This dirty, filthy old man down fighting kids. So again, it inspired him to do A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, we do know originally it was going to be played by David Warner, may he rest in peace, a damn good actor who's sadly no longer with us. He originally, believe it or not, was going to play the role of Freddy Krueger, but for some reason or other he never got the role. Instead, Robert Englund got the role. And I like Robert Englund. It's basically would have been curious to see what David Warner would have brought to the role, but in all fairness, Robert Englund made it his own. He made it his own. As you know, in the auditioning, he got cigarette, he burnt his eyelashes, put right stuff on it, got into the role, influenced it. If I remember right, it could be right, it could be wrong. He influenced it from fancy arts or and put his own touch on Fede. And the rest is fucking history. At the time, they almost got in shit for copyrights because remember we were in a film called Gene State, roughly come out the same year, 1984. So West Haven, I can't remember now whether he had to do them for the copyrights or Dream State had to do him for copyrights, but one or the other, they almost got shit for copyrights. Does it all to do with dreams? He used the idea Q, as in Freddy Krueger, from the character Q from Last House on the Left, and the rest is history. So I kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street. You got the day opening with the chuff, you got Freddy making the Freddy chuff, you got the hand coming out like that, and then you got that music. Do 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 do. And what cheaper fucking music. This is like Johnny Depp's first appearance. And you got the character Tina, which at first you think she's going to be the final girl, she's going to be the heroine and all this. And that's something else I love about Nightmare on Elm Street. It's very manipulating. So you got that cheapy music, you got her running in the boiler room. She thinks she gets out of Dodge. I love a bit where you see a lab running the doors. It makes a horrible steaming noise. You hear that ee all the way through. You think she gets out of Dodge. Betty jumps up. Typical jump scare. But in this case, it works. That's the difference between the shit mate and the original. It works. And she wakes up and it's just a bad, horrible nightmare. She meets her mate, she tells her mates what's happened, and then she goes back to sleep, and that's when this time it's no longer a nightmare. Now, I do know there was a lot of deleted scenes in this. You've got to go look up on YouTube. There was a scene where I think the character Nancy had a brother, and you found out Betty killed the brother. I'm saying it weren't in the film. There's a few other little bits here and there. Yeah, it's okay. I can deal with it. You got David Tennant, may he rest in peace, another good actor who plays Nancy's dad, and it's a good one. So, like I say, you got the date scene where Tina goes back to sleep, and then Freddy's gonna get her. I love the bit where the arm stretches out, which I don't do know there's a lot more to that originally. I love the bit where she says, "God help me, this is God." I love that. I love the bit where he jumps out the buses. He says that line, "Tina, what's this?" And he cuts his fingers off. He's like that. Really good. Everything in this, to me, is what horror should be. Should be. I do love the bit where he's getting she goes to Stats's his face and she rips his face off. You got that skeleton's face, got that horrible cheesy laugh. A lot really cheapy, horrible laugh. I do, and then that's the bit where it's a soccer. You know, you've got the ducks what rip open, blood streaming out everywhere, they're flying about, and the rest is history. She's dead, brown bread. Which I imagine back in that day, that was a soccer. Especially when you think she's going to be the main character. So you've seen them in Elm Street, you get it. They think the lad who is her boyfriend's done it. He gets arrested. And then halfway through the film, Nancy realises that it was the guy. She visits the lad and she realises it wasn't him. It was Fedor. And that's one thing I like about Nightmare on Elm Street. I do remember saying this last time I did a review on Nightmare on Elm Street. You don't know who he is at first. You don't even know who Freddy is at first. You just hear the name here and there, Fedor. And that's what made it more cheaper. You don't halfway through the film, you just stuff with who he is. And I felt the less you knew about Fedor, the more interesting that character is. I never did a shit about the third Elm Street film. His mum, the nun, got raped. Big fucking deal. I didn't give a shit about the background story. To me, I felt the less you knew about Fedor, the more cheaper he is. He could be in your area. He could be on your street. He could be anywhere. Anywhere. So I do love the bit where the bath scene, which I do believe to cut the bath open and the actors ordered a bath. They also had a stunt double that did that, and they went underwater. It was like a proper pool, made it look like a swimming bath, made it look like a bath, sorry. You get the guy's hand wasn't Robert England, by the way. They had somebody else with a feddy duff behind the legs. So that was a that interesting touch to the film. And like I say, you got the scene where the lad gets killed, a blanket wraps around his neck and kills him. And then you got the date death of all being Dren, played again by very young Johnny Depp. The bit where Nancy says, whatever you do, don't fall asleep, which he does. Now, we do know originally the scene where he got dragged under the bed, there's going to be a lot more in it. His body was going to come back up. He had blood, fake blood all over him. And then he actually did his own stunt, Johnny Depp, where he literally dropped himself down on a fake bed with fake blood all over him. But for some reasons or other, that was stopped. But you do get the date sheet where blood is skirting out everywhere. Sadly to say, the MPA cut some of it down, so it wasn't as graphic as what originally it was going to be. But still, to me, it's a notch. And I do love to see where the stunt man did a date stunt where Freddy, she finds out that, Nancy finds out that she can get him out of the dream, and she discovers that Freddy used to be a kiddie murderer, which makes it even more frightening. I know originally Wes Craven was going to do it that he was a paedophile, but then decided the idea would be more frightening if he was a kiddie murderer, which is even more disturbing. She finds that out at Freddy was that. You know the film. The family got out of Dodge because Dickens had to set him up, and they did the one search and the one side of the paper, and he was free. The families knew he did it. They hunted him down. He worked in a boiler room, and they burnt him alive, and that's why he's all burnt. And I like Robert England. Let's not forget, this was not that long after he did V and V the Final Battle. Damn Good Sailors. I might review that one day around the road. But I do love the scene where she gets him out of the dream, she falls pretzel on him, she burns him, and he's screaming about, ah! And she manages to defeat him by turning the back on him. It destroys him. I do know originally they're going to have 3 alternate endings, believe it or not. They're going to have one with Freddy's in the car, the one where the mum raves and it has a happy ending where all the friends are back from the dead, and we get the ending what we see with Freddy's hand jumps out the fucking wind and drags the mum. Never really bothered me where she jumps out the mum and people say, oh, it's like a rubber job. Never bothered me. There's bit what was more to us about having the happy ending. If they would have had that, would have had the third one with Nancy or any of the other sequels. That's how I see it. A bit with Freddy's in the car and the mum gets killed never made sense. How could he drive the car and then kill the mum at the same time? So I'm trying to see why that was cut out. But we got the ending what we got. I think at the time there was trying to push a sequel. There was going to push a sequel. Wes Craven didn't want a sequel. and the rest is history. But A Nightmare on Elm Street, as we know, became a big success. And like I said, there's bits where they do show the Evil Dead in the scene with Nancy's watching TV, which I remember mentioning when they did the Evil Dead. But I said it made a lot of sequels. It definitely made Robert Englund a popular name, apart from when he did V. Made a lot of fan base. Didn't deserve a shit make. Made that fart in the wind. Nightmare on Elm Street was a big success. Made lots of sequels without repeating myself, and the rest is history. So that's A Nightmare on Elm Street, classic horror movie. I love. There's lots of horror scenes in it. The bit with the phone. I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. Tongue sticking out. Lots in it, and that's what I love about this film. It has a lot of good horror tropes, and the fact that it's a die that can get into your dream and fuck with you. Definitely, it's told it has a lot of imagination, so fuck it. Without a two, it's a classic. A 10 out of me. A Nightmare on Elm Street. Into then. Be smart. Be safe. See you later.